Hare Krishna, welcome to this episode of Bhagavad-gītā. Today we will be studying chapter 10, text 8 of Bhagavad-gītā, which is the first shloka of the Chatushloki Bhagavad-gītā. The condensed Bhagavad-gītā in 4 verses is from 10.8 to 10.11. So this is the first shloka of that series. Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. ॐ अज्ञानतिमिरान्धस्य ज्ञानाञ्जनशलाकया चक्षुरुन्मीलितं येन तस्मै श्रीगुरवे नमः। श्रीचैतन्यमनोभीष्टं स्थापितं येन भूतले स्वयं रूपः कदा मह्यं ददाति स्वपदान्तिकं। वन्देऽहं श्रीगुरो श्रीयुतपदकमलं श्रीगुरून् वैष्णवांश्च श्रीरूपं साग्रजातं सहगणरघुनाथान्वितं तं सजीवं साद्वैतं सावधूतं परिजनसहितं कृष्णचैतन्यदेवं श्रीराधा कृष्णपादान् सहगणललिता श्रीविशाखान्वितांश्च हे कृष्ण करुणा सिन्धो दीनबन्धो जगत्पते गोपेश गोपिका कान्त राधा कान्त नमोऽस्तु ते तप्त काञ्चन गौराङ्गी राधे वृन्दावनेश्वरि वृषभानुसुते देवी प्रणमामि हरिप्रिये वाञ्छाकल्पतरुभ्यश्च कृपा सिन्धुभ्य एव च पतितानां पावनेभ्यो वैष्णवेभ्यो नमो नमः। नमो विष्णुपादाय कृष्णप्रेष्ठाय भूतले श्रीमते भक्तिवेदान्तस्वामिनिति नामिने नमस्ते सारस्वतदेवे गौरवाणी प्रचारिणे निर्विशेषशून्यवादी पाश्चात्यदेशतारिणे जय श्री कृष्ण चैतन्य प्रभु नित्यानंद श्री अद्वैत गदाधर श्रीवासादि गौर भक्त वृंद हरे कृष्ण 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 हरे 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 राम 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 हरे हरे. So Bhagavad-gītā chapter 10 text 8, the first of shloka of the Chatushloki Bhagavad-gītā. ahaṁ sarvasya prabhavo mattaḥ sarvaṁ pravartate iti matvā bhajante māṁ budhā bhāva-samanvitāḥ. Ahaṁ, I, sarvasya, of all, prabhavah, the source of generation, mattaḥ, from me, sarvaṁ, everything, pravartate, emanates, iti, thus, matvā, knowing, bhajante, become devoted, mam, unto me, budhā, the learned, bhāva-samanvitāḥ, with great attention. Translation and purport by His Divine Grace A.C. Bhaktivedanta Swami Prabhupada Ki Jai. Translation: I am the source of all spiritual and material worlds. Everything emanates from me. The wise who perfectly know this engage in my devotional service and worship me with all their hearts. Purport: a learned scholar who has studied the Vedas perfectly and has information from authorities like Lord Chaitanya and who knows how to apply these teachings can understand that Krishna is the origin of everything in both the material and spiritual worlds. And because he knows this perfectly, he becomes firmly fixed in the devotional service of the Supreme Lord. He can never be deviated by any amount of nonsensical commentaries or by fools. All Vedic literature agrees that Krishna is the source of Brahma, Shiva, and all other demigods. In the Tattvavit, Gopala Tapani Upanishad 1.24, it is said, Yo Brahmanam vidadhati purvam yo vai vedamscha gapayati sma Krishnaha. It was Krishna who in the beginning instructed Brahma in Vedic knowledge and who disseminated Vedic knowledge in the past. Then again, in the Narayana Upanishad, verse 1, then again, the Narayana Upanishad, verse 1 says, Atho Atha Purusho Havaye Narayano Kamayata Prajaha Srijayeti. Then the Supreme Personality Narayana desired to create living entities. The Upanishad continues, Narayanad Brahma Jayate, Narayanad Prajapatihi Prajayate, Narayanad Indro Jayate, Narayanad Ashtau Vasavo Jayante, Narayanad Ekadasha Rudra Jayante, Narayanad Dvadashadityaha. From Narayana, Brahma is born, and from Narayana, the patriarchs are also born. From Narayana, Indra is born. From Narayana, the 8 Vasus are born. From Narayana, the 11 Rudras are born. From Narayana, the 12 Adityas are born. This Narayana is an expansion of Kṛṣṇa. It is said in the same Vedas, Brahmanyo Devaki Putraha. The son of Devaki, Kṛṣṇa, is the Supreme Personality of God. Narayana Upanishad 4. Then it is said, Eko vai Narayana asin na Brahma na Ishano napo nagni somao neme dhyava prithivi na nakshatrani na suryaha. In the beginning of the creation, there was only the Supreme Personality Narayana. There was no Brahma, no Shiva, no water, no fire, no moon, no heaven and earth, no stars in the sky, no sun. Maha Upanishad 1.2. In the Maha Upanishad, it is also said that Lord Shiva was born from the forehead of the Supreme Lord. Thus, the Vedas say that it is the Supreme Lord, the creator of Brahma and Shiva, who is to be worshipped. In the Moksha Dharma section of the Mahabharata, Kṛṣṇa also says, Prajapatim cha rudram chapyahameva srijami vai tauhimam na vijanito mama maya vimohitao. The patriarchs, Shiva and others, are created by me, though they do not know that they are created by me because they are deluded by my illusory energy. In the Varaha Purana, it is also said, Narayana paro devas tasmad jatas chaturmukha tasmad rudro bhavad devah sacha sarvajñatam gataha. Narayana is the Supreme Personality of Godhead, and from him Brahma was born, from whom Shiva was born. I think the translation is not complete. Sacha sarvajñatam gataha. Sacha sarvajñatam gataha. That line is not translated. Sarvajñatam. Lord Kṛṣṇa is the source of all generations, and he is called the most efficient cause of everything. He says, because everything is born from me, I am the original source of all. Everything is under me. No one is above me. There is no supreme controller other than Kṛṣṇa. One who understands Kṛṣṇa in such a way, from a bona fide spiritual master, with references from Vedic literature, engages all his energy in Kṛṣṇa consciousness and becomes a truly learned man. In comparison to him, all others who do not know Kṛṣṇa properly are but fools. Only a fool would consider Kṛṣṇa to be an ordinary man. A Kṛṣṇa conscious person should not be bewildered by fools. He should avoid all unauthorized commentaries and interpretations on Bhagavad-gītā and proceed in Kṛṣṇa consciousness with determination and firmness. So, this is a very, very important verse and an important purport. Now, why so many references are quoted in the purport? Because, first of all, this is the Chatushloki Bhagavad-gītā. If Bhagavad-gītā were to be condensed into four verses. The Bhagavad-gītā is 700 verses long, and if it has to be condensed into four verses, then these four verses summarize the entire science of Bhagavad-gītā. When Kṛṣṇa said in the fourth chapter to Arjuna that, this Bhagavad-gītā I have spoken before to the sun god, Vivasvan, and in parampara it came down. Now that same knowledge I am repeating it to you, Arjuna, today. Does that mean that the Bhagavad-gītā that was spoken to the sun god, Vivasvan, was also 700 verses long? No. For example, in the fourth chapter, Arjuna asks, "Oh, how is it that you spoke to the sun god?" That is also part of Bhagavad-gītā, no? In this 5,000 years back version. That question wouldn't be there in the Surya, in the Surya Lok, right? So it is not about the exact content, the exact verbatim word to word, but the science. Okay, and that science can be contracted or condensed or expanded as much as needed or as much as necessary, or as much as is possible. It can be infinitely condensed, it can be infinitely expanded. The beauty of transcendental knowledge is that there is infinite depth to it. At the same time, the essential portion of that, the essential science of it, can be condensed. For example, we know Ramayana to be 25,000 verses. In the Brahmalok, it is 1 billion verses. Now, there is a Ekashloki Ramayana also. So, that means Ramayana condensed into one verse. So, that is also there. So, and the entire Vedic literature is condensed into this Hare Krishna Mahamantra also, one verse, the names. And if we want to expand that holy name, that Mahamantra, it can be unlimitedly expanded. And it can cover everything. Not it can cover, it covers already everything. But such detail, such granular detail can be explored from the Mahamantra itself. So, in that way, just as in Suryalok, because it's the heavenly planets, of course, devotees across the board at all levels, whether in the material, spiritual world, or spiritual world, they all are of the same caliber. A pure devotee is always of the same caliber, whether he's in hell, heaven, or earth. But although the devotees are of the same caliber, we have to understand that the mission of the Lord is not just to speak to the devotees, but to the people in general through the medium of the devotee. For example, Shankaracharya said in the Gita Mahatmyam that Sarvopanishado gavo dogdha gopalanandanaha partho vatsaha sudhir bhokta dugdham gitamritam mahat. Now, we take advantage of the milk of mother cow, Gomata. Now, cow gives milk only when she has a calf. And by Krishna's arrangement, some vegan activists are there. They are saying that, oh, we should not drink cow's milk or take any of its products because any of the dairy products, because that milk is meant for the calf. Every mammal species produces milk, and from the mother, the child is taking the milk. The milk is meant for the own offspring. It's not meant for other offspring also of the same species. What to speak of another species? Because, for example, a human mother, she will nurse her child with her breast milk, but she will not nurse another child with her breast milk unless it's like very some emergency situation or what, I don't know. So usually they don't do that. So it's meant for the own offspring, not even to other offspring in the same species of humans. So how can you their argument is, how can you, being humans, take milk from the cow when it is not even, when the cow did not intend to give milk to you? How can you take and say that now it is my mother because I have taken milk? But she has not given milk to you. So this is their argument. Even in India, there is one person who is also doing that. Anyway, now our point is, by Krishna's arrangement. Now you can see Krishna's example. He is called Makhancho. He stole milk and yogurt and butter. We know his pastimes. We know his leela. And of course, yes, the cows were well taken care of. But the point is this: that category of food is acceptable to Krishna, and it is acceptable to us also as prasadam. So our thing, our conditioning, I mean, or our classification or categorization of acceptable or non-acceptable food is based on Krishna's instructions, not on vegetarian or non-vegetarian or what. So anyway, with milk, that there were great sacrifices being performed. That means ghee is necessary for that. Cow dung was used. Cow urine is used. Okay, and so this is panchagavya is there: milk, yogurt, um, cow urine, cow dung, and ghee. Panchagavya, 5 products from the cow. So 3 of those products are dairy products: milk and its derivatives, yogurt and ghee. So that is acceptable, not only for the deity but for the devotees as well. In fact, it is sattvic food, and if it's offered to Krishna, it is prasadam. Now, by Krishna's arrangement, a cow always produces more milk than is necessary for the calf, and that milk is meant for the human being. In variety of ways, he can use that and offer it to Krishna and take the remnant. So anyway, that example of vicarious, not say vicarious, vicarious learning. The vicarious learning means second-hand learning. So Arjuna is the primary student of Bhagavad-gītā in our Bhagavad-gītā, and we are secondary. Like through Arjuna's medium, we are getting the advantage. That example of Shankaracharya itself proves that milk is also used by others. So because there he says Sarvopanishado Gavo, all the Upanishads are like the cow, and Krishna is the milkman, Gopala Nandana. Partho Vatsaha Sudhiru Bhokta. So Partha is the calf, is likened to the calf metaphorically here, and with his intelligence he is drinking Dugdham Gitamritam Mahat. And you know that, when Arjuna received the knowledge, it was not just meant for Arjuna. We are now studying Bhagavad-gītā and learning so many things. So it is for our benefit also. So, Dugdham Gitamritam Mahat. And the entire Gita Mahatmya of Shankaracharya is glorifying how one should, read Bhagavad-gītā and make his life successful. So, how can you use the same argument can be that how can you use the Bhagavad-gītā for in your life when it was meant for the particular situation of Arjuna and it was meant for him? Krishna spoke to him and not to everyone else. That argument may be raised. But no, Krishna spoke for everyone. He used Arjuna as a medium with which to extract the knowledge and give it to the world. So, with that in mind, Krishna reveals, although devotees are of the same caliber across the board in material and spiritual worlds and different grades of material worlds as well, whether it's heaven, hell, or earth, Krishna will speak in a language that is understandable by the common man of that place. Like in Suryalok, he spoke the Bhagavad-gītā millions of years ago to Surya Devata, who is Vivasvan. Now, when he spoke to him, he spoke in a way that is understandable by the inhabitants of the planet there, Suryalok. And they have, because it is part of the heavenly planets, it is much more, the people there are much more qualified and they can understand way more than us, way more detailed. So that is there. So it must have been even more voluminous. For example, Mahabharata here is 100,000 verses long. In the heavenly planets, it is 1.6 million verses long. So the level of detail is increased because they have higher intelligence. So similarly, it can be expanded and condensed as much as possible. It's very elastic. It can be expanded upon. Like for example, all the Vaishnava Acharya songs are expansions from the Mahamantra. The mood with which Vaishnava Acharyas write the songs is the mood with which we have to chant the Mahamantra. That is the meaning of the Mahamantra, and that is the moods in which we should chant as devotees. So, in this way, it can be expanded. So, that same 700 verses of Bhagavad-gītā can be condensed into 4 verses, and these are the four verses. And if you observe these 4 verses, okay, there is a lot of things can be, gleaned from these 4 verses, but the overarching principle is this: Kṛṣṇa is the origin. Ahaṁ sarvasya prabhavo mattaḥ sarvaṁ pravartate. Okay, that is in a nutshell the position of the Supreme Lord, the position of the material nature, the position of the spiritual nature, the position of us, everything included there in that 2 lines. Because Kṛṣṇa is the origin of the material world and the spiritual world and even us. So he is the source of everything. Iti matvā, that means having known this truth, bhajante mam, budhā. The budhā means the intelligent people who are devotees. They worship Kṛṣṇa. So the second 2 lines is the description of the devotees' reciprocation to the knowledge that is revealed to them that Kṛṣṇa is the supreme. What they will do once they have that revealed knowledge. So that means the first 2 lines is the sambandha. Now the entire Vedic literature can be divided into 3 parts by functional categorization. One is sambandha. The sambandha means those teachings which establish the relation of the Supreme Lord and us, between the Supreme Lord and us. And not only us, it's not so limited in silo, because it includes everything. Because and us means what is this material nature in the between. So that is also answered. So when Kṛṣṇa says ahaṁ sarvasya prabhavo mattaḥ sarvaṁ pravartate, I am the origin of everything. So when he says that, then everything becomes related to Kṛṣṇa, we ourselves included. So that firmly establishes our position, where Kṛṣṇa in other place says, 15th chapter, 7th verse, Mamaivamsho jivaloke jivabhutaha sanatanaha. So we are Kṛṣṇa's amshas, or parts and parcels. And similarly, the different manifestations of Kṛṣṇa's energy are exhibited in the spiritual and the material worlds. Right? So all those energies, whatever we are perceiving, is the energy of the Supreme Lord. And therefore, it is important for us to draw the connection, draw the linkage between everything that we perceive to the Lord. Especially so in the beginning stages of our Kṛṣṇa consciousness. Later on, when this vision matures, one will see his Supreme Lord everywhere. Everywhere. But in the beginning, we have to use our Mayyarpita Manobuddhi. Kṛṣṇa says, invest your mind and intelligence in thinking of me. And how to do that? Because currently the mind and intelligence are invested in so many Niranam Santis Sahasrashaha. We are We have invested our mind and intelligence in thousands and millions of topics. So all that has to converge to Krishna. So we have to know the connection between Krishna and the things that we're thinking about. Now we are thinking about those things without relation to Krishna, and therefore with relation to me, with relation to ourselves. We see everything, we perceive everything, and we draw conclusions from it without knowing its ownership. Who owns what we are seeing, what we are perceiving? And if that person, or Krishna in this case, if Krishna owns everything, so why did he own this? What is his purpose of displaying this to me? So, in this way, we have to contemplate, vicharana. A devotee should always be a philosopher, always contemplating on Krishna and his presence everywhere. So, that is the function of a devotee. So, if a devotee does not do that, then he will lose his sense of sambandha with the Lord, sense of connection or relationship with the Lord. Because then we will think that everything is for my enjoyment. Like a flower, for example, simple thing, a flower on a tree. I can always think it is meant for my enjoyment, and therefore I pluck the flower and smell it. Seems like a harmless act, but it is a harmful act. First of all, I did not acknowledge. The main thing is here, I did not acknowledge the sambandha. To whom it is related. Do I have the right to just pluck something and smell it? I don't, because it's not mine, first of all. Just because no other human being has lay claim to a particular tree or a particular plant does not mean it's mine. It belongs to Krishna. Even when a so-called human being lays claim to anything in this world, it still does not belong to him. For um, practical purposes, we may consider that such and such person or an entity is the owner of some thing, but actually, the owner is the Supreme Lord, and the Supreme Lord is a person. Krishna is always using in first, what is that? First person. Ahaṁ. Ahaṁ sarvasya prabhavo. Ahaṁ means it's a person. Nowadays, even Hindus have become impersonalists. The deity, they are saying it is some energy, and the temples are energy spaces. They're using this word, phrase in Sanskrit. They want to Sanskritize everything because they want to make it more, you know, more bona fide sounding, because then you are truly a Sanatan Dharmavadi. So they're saying Urja Kshetra. Temples, they're referring to temples as Urja Kshetra. That means energy space, energy area, energy location. That, no, honestly, I have not seen that word in this Bhagavad-gītā and Bhagavatam. Person, okay? The deity is a person. The Lord accepts the deity form in order for us to serve him. The Lord accepts the sound form in order for us to chant his name. So he is making himself available to us in person, not some energy, some vague, the energetic. Now, the energetic, he is the source of all energy. So he is personally coming to accept our services. So now, when it comes to the point where, oh, then how can, if deities are, if the deity of the temple is God himself, especially in, of course, there are demigod deities, there are supreme personalities deities. Even the devatas and the sub devatas who are worshipped, they act through those deity forms due to the power of the Lord only. We have the classic example of Jada Bharat, where he was being slaughtered at the temple, at the altar of Kali, Bhadra Kali Devi. And what did Kali do? Mother Kali? She came out of the Vigraha and actually punished and killed all the so-called worshippers. She is more concerned at saving a Vaishnava than her own so-called devotees, worshippers. Not devotee. Devotee can only be um, attributed to Vishnu Bhakta or Krishna Bhakta. Others are not devotees in the strict sense of the term. Why? Of course, people may get offended. We don't care about offend who's getting offended and who's not. We should understand what the facts are. Okay, facts trump feelings. Our feelings should be based on facts, not otherwise. Now, okay, so this is the thing. What devotee means? What? One who devotes himself. Now, devote means complete selflessness. Devote, complete. That means I am yours. This cannot be had with any other person than Krishna, because our real original relationship is with Krishna. If we go to any other demigods, then we go with karma, at least a tinge of karma. Without karma, even to Krishna, people come with karma in the beginning. It's only after much purification that he becomes akama, kami. So he will become pure only after a long time. Otherwise, even all the demigod worshippers, kamais taistair hritagyanah, their knowledge is defective. And they come with kama, lust. Lust means the desire to satisfy oneself, whether that be hedonistic in nature or more subtle, which is mental, intellectual, whatever. Even if one wants moksha, that is also called kama, moksha kami. Only one who is devotee, he is akami. So he doesn't have any personal desire, personal motive. So those who worship demigods, they are having certain own ulterior motives. To fulfill them, they are worshipping certain devatas. Okay? That is the thing that is already mentioned in Bhagavad-gītā very clearly. Now, whereas Bharata, Jada Bharat, was a pure devotee. And Kali, who is she? She is actually a manifestation of Parvati. So she is a Vaishnavi Devi. So she is a devotee of Vishnu, as her husband is. Vaishnavanam yatha Shambhu. So Lord Shiva and Parvati, both of them are devotees. So she was there in the deity form, and she responded with so much anger because the pure devotee was being slaughtered. So now one may question, then why did she not come out, or no, she or other deities, why did they not come out when the Muslims were, the Mughals, they were invading India and destroying the temples and, uh, destroying the deities and building mosques over them? Why did nothing happen? Well, we don't know what happened. Many things happened, but the documentation maybe is lost. But the thing is, more important thing is this. Now, the Supreme Lord and the demigods and sub demigods and other inferior deities, they follow the same principle by the power of the Supreme Lord. Through his power, they can actually accept any services rendered by their worshippers. Now let's talk about the Supreme Lord. Now he is everywhere. Okay, but why do we then need a form? Why do we need a archa vigraha then? So the answer becomes that he is allowing us to take darshan. We can look at him, we can Instead of looking at material forms, we can look at his form and purify ourselves. Yeah? And we can associate with devotees like that, this whole community with the temple. Now, he's there accepting the services. Now, when the devotees become offensive, the Supreme Lord would want to go. He will not be satisfied. And such symptoms, you know, um, the deities showing their non acceptance, or I would say displeasure at the way they are being worshipped, as at the by the way people are behaving themselves. Such omens are also mentioned in our shastras. Like sometimes the deities cry. I think you see this verse. I think this is the verse. Yeah. दैवतानि रुदन्तीव स्विद्यन्ति हि उच्चलन्ति च इमे जनपदा ग्रामाः पुरोद्यानाकराश्रमाः भ्रष्टश्रियो निरानन्दाः किमघं दर्शयन्ति नः. The deities seem to be crying in the temple, lamenting and perspiring. Sometimes the deities, they seem to be crying, shedding tears and perspiring. You may say, how does that happen? Well, it does happen. And we know, I think in 2014 or something, 2015 or somewhere, about 10 years ago somewhere, even the Panchatattva deities in Mayapur, they were, looking like they were crying. Of course, some people say, oh, it is just condensation of this thing, whatever it is. The Lord can do whatever, with our physical laws, and he wants to display what he wants to display. Everything is under his control. So the deities were apparently crying, the Chaitanya Mahaprabhu's deities. Of course, everybody said that, because such and such so-called guru sang kirtan, and then the, Panchatattva were just like in ecstasy, that's why they're crying. Well, interpretation. But here, according to Shastra, we understand that the deities crying means they seem about to leave. You see this? They seem about to leave. And they seem to be crying and lamenting, perspiring. What is that? All the cities, villages, towns, gardens, mines, and hermitages are now devoid of beauty and bereft of all happiness. I do not know what sort of calamities are now awaiting us. So that's a bad omen. When we see the deities like that, it's a bad omen. That means some calamity is befalling. So the deities seem about to leave. That means the deities would leave the place. And if we, of course, one side of the history that happened in India was, the Mughals came and, destroyed the deities. Of course, that is bad. Very bad. There was resistance put forward by the kings and, the armies. But let's try to understand, if the Lord is all powerful, how did he allow himself to be destroyed? Or how could he be destroyed if he's all powerful? Well, he is never destroyed. But he would leave the place and allow the worshippers to know that he is extremely displeased. So when the deities are broken, when the deities seem crying, when the deities seem perspiring, that also happened in Mayapur. That same thing, it was like crying and perspiring. So this happens. And because we don't understand one thing, the deity is a person. It's not just some, material element. So he would like to usually he for the neophyte, he doesn't express much. He's just standing there. But of course he's smiling, he's giving his darshan. But a pure devotee can freely talk to him. Right? But even otherwise, he gives indications sometimes to wake us up. There must have been many indications before such demolitions of temples would have happened. There might have been many indications warning that the deity would leave the place before the actual so-called demolition happened. You may ask why. Because people must have been so engrossed in materialistic life that they were not interested anymore in the Lord. And even if they go to the temple, it's just as a social symbolism and on a cultural level, that's it. And there's no devotion. And that's when the Lord will be displeased. In the Chaitanya Bhagavat, I was very interested. I was just browsing, I was just reading like that. And in the second chapter of the Adikhanda, I think I showed once in the lecture live stream, that Advaita Acharya, when he was calling Krishna to come down, and that's how Chaitanya Mahaprabhu came by the invitation of Advaita Acharya. Advaita Acharya was lamenting so much that people have become so materialistic that Krishna, unless you come, there is no way they can be delivered. They are so hopeless right now. And some examples of what they were doing as materialistic activities were also listed in that Adikhanda chapter 2. So many things. One of the things was they were conducting grand wedding ceremonies for cocks and hens, birds, and they're dressing up the hen, with all the like a bride, and then the cock with all the turban and everything, and then everybody would have competitions like who would do the best, and huge number of people would come and look at them, and everything. So the deity is standing there in the temple, there to bless everyone, and he's standing there, and everyone doesn't pay any heed. They go to do these things. Why am I standing here? I'll go. I don't need to be here. Because you should understand one thing. Yatra gayanti madbhaktah tatra tishtami narada. Naham tishtami vaikunthe, naham yoginam hridayeshu va. I am not in the Vaikuntha even. I am not in the heart of the yogis. I am not in the temples, which are embassies of Vaikuntha. Where is he? What is that? Yatra gayanti madbhakta tatra tishtami narada. I am there where my devotees are glorifying me. They are interested in me. They are discussing about me. They are serving me. They are conducting festivals to broadcast my glories. When they are so interested in me, I am there. And if they're not interested, I can just unmanifest myself. And then it will appear just like stone, it can be just crumbled. So we should understand this fact that the Lord is a person. We are dealing with the Supreme Lord. And therefore, even in our Krishna consciousness, in our temples, we should be extremely careful, we should be extremely cautious that we're doing everything for the pleasure of the Lord. Oftentimes, we may forget that. We think we are doing it for our benefit, and Krishna is there for comforting me. And I want to be in comfort. And even this is a warning to all the dedicated devotees as well, those who are staying in the temple. They should not use anything of the Lord for their own personal sense gratification. Everything is meant for the Lord. And if we try to enjoy the property of the Lord, then the Lord will teach us a very, very harsh lesson. And we should never make the Lord that angry. In fact, we should never make the Lord angry at all. Once Prabhupada disciple, deities were installed in a temple. I don't remember which temple. So he said, "Oh, Radharani seems so beautiful. She seems smiling." Prabhupada said, "Yes, that is your business. You should keep her smiling. Otherwise, Krishna will leave." And of course, he said it in a lighter tone. but it is never light. It is actually true. It is a scientific, it's a spiritual fact. Srimati Radharani must be kept happy all the time. And that means we should sincerely engage in Krishna's service with all aspects of our existence. We should, with our mind, body, and words, we should be sincere in serving the Lord. The Lord is the owner of this place, and I have to serve Him. So, this is the thing. The Lord is there. Yeah? The Lord reciprocates. So, coming back to this point, ahaṁ sarvasya prabhavo. So, He is the origin of everything. Mattaḥ sarvaṁ pravartate. Everything comes from me. It's just a repetition of the same thing. He's twice saying it. Ahaṁ sarvasya prabhavo means I am the origin of everything. And mattaḥ sarvaṁ pravartate. Everything comes from me. That means I am the origin. So why did he repeat twice? That much it is important from both perspectives. Whether to see from top down or from bottom up. Top down is ahaṁ sarvasya prabhavo. From Krishna everything comes. Now we are seeing everything. We are seeing that sarvam. Mattaḥ sarvaṁ pravartate. From bottom you see everything is coming from him. So whether we see from top down or bottom, he is the origin of everything. So this, if we understand this very clearly, then there is no place for our false ego to remain. Why? Because then what is ours? If everything is coming from Krishna, then he is the owner of everything, including my body, including me, myself. So what right do I have to do anything but worship him and serve him with love? So those who are intelligent, those who understand this, Krishna, sometimes it appears that, oh, why it should be repeated twice? That's not, he's not telling another aspect, he's just saying the same thing. Well, repetition is needed because we don't have brain. The budhā bhāva-samanvitāḥ bhajante maṁ. What is he saying? The intelligent, they will understand this. And what is the sign of their intelligence? That they worship him with full bhava. Prabhupada said many times, what is the difference between, that neighboring building and ours? The thing is, here the bhava is of serving Krishna. There the bhava is something else. So the bhava defines the place. So, so we should be knowing well this fact. So now let's get to that purport. Now, one thing is in the translation it is mentioned sarvasya. Prabhupada translated it as material and spiritual worlds. Spiritual world is eternal. How is he the origin of it? When did he become the origin? When he is eternal, the spiritual world is eternal. How is he the origin? Next, material world is also eternal. We are also eternal. Material world is sometimes manifested and sometimes unmanifested, but it is eternal in principle. It is sometimes just reduced to the elements in their raw state, and sometimes they are put together in combinations and they produce varieties of manifestations, and that we call it as the material world. Including our own bodies are structured by the same dhatus. Now, if he is the origin and everything belongs to him, now we should understand, we should ask ourselves, how is it that everything is existing. Okay. Now you see here, coming back here, this just here. Krishna is the origin of everything in both the material and spiritual world. Everything is existing. Now, if it is eternal, that means it has no beginning by definition. So, how did he become the origin of the spiritual and material worlds? So, this is where our brain is incapable of comprehending because there is no such thing as T0. T means time. There is no such thing as T0. Eternal. It's a very difficult concept to grasp with our limited brains because we are conditioned to think of a beginning and an end. And when we say origin, origin means the beginning of something. But here, the energies of the Supreme Lord always are manifest and they expand from the Lord. And expand also has a connotation of time involved because expand means like a balloon expands. When does it expand? When air is filled into it. And air takes time to go into that, and then therefore you have a shriveled up balloon, and then you have the expanded version, and expansion itself has time involved in it, right? Because it takes some time to expand. Expand means the size is changing with time. That's the definition of expansion. And the converse of that, or the opposite of that, is contraction. Contraction means the size is changing over time, reducing over time. Expansion is increasing over time. So time is involved or intrinsic in that process of expansion, right? So when we say expansion of, like, Vishnu is an expansion of Krishna, Balaram is an expansion of Krishna, and Krishna is the origin of all the avatars. Even that verse in the Brahma Samhita, which says Deeparchireva hi dashantaram abhyupetya Deepayate vivrita hetu samana dharma Yes tadrige vahi cha Vishnu taya vibhati govindamadi purusham tamaham bhajami. What is this? Just like a lamp, deepa, from one candle, from one deepa, if you light many other deepas, all of them have the same power, but there is one original which has lighted up the others. Now again, there is the conception of time which is intrinsic in that description. So when we see these analogies being made in scripture, even they will never completely give a full idea of the position of the Lord. They come very close, maybe, but never a full idea of it. So, for example, Ghanashyam, Meghashyam. So, Krishna's color is like the bluish, dark blue rain cloud. But actually, Krishna's color is not to be found in this material world. The closest color to that is the blue cloud or the atasi flower, which is a blue flower. So, that is the closest color in the material world to Krishna's color. So, but Krishna's color is not to be found in this world. So, Krishna always has his unique existence, and everything here are approximations pointing us to the direction of the perfect reality, but the examples themselves are not perfect in all sense of the term, all senses of the term, all aspects of the example. For example, Cheto Darpanam Arjanam, right? Cheto Darpanam Arjanam means the mind is like the mirror. Whatever you put in front of the mind, it will reflect. But it's not exactly, because it's like a memory mirror. I've told this before. That means, if you put something in front of a mirror, it will reflect that. You take that out, it will not reflect that immediately. But our mind will keep on reflecting that even well after. Some memories just stay. What is memory? Memory means it has retained. That image is retained. Although we have seen, like, some of the things we have experienced way many years back in our childhood, but still I can remember that moment, even now. That means my mind can reflect something which has happened in the past, which is not right in front of the mind. Even when we watch a movie, for example, after we come out, we still think so many things that are shown in that movie. So it is a mirror, but it keeps on reflecting. Like the radium, you have those glow in the dark kind of watch. The watch hands sometimes glow in the dark. What is that? Radium. It takes light, but then it reflects even in darkness, even for some time. So there is a property where it stores the light it receives, and it keeps on emitting it even in the dark, giving an illusion of light, a source of light. Actually, it has stored that light up, and then now. So that is something which our mind is like. So every example that is given has some, it doesn't. So even in this Deeparcharya Vedashantaram Abhutete, one candle lighting other candle, that lighting is again a function that happens in time. But when Krishna says Mamaiva Amsha, everyone is my part and parcel, Sai is asking who is Sai. He's asking who is eternal. Well, Krishna is eternal, we are eternal, the spiritual world is eternal, the material world is also eternal. Now we have creation and destruction, but that is just waves in the eternal sky of material nature. The elements remain. They are sometimes hit reset. The elements are reset back to their original elementary forms, and sometimes when they're manifested, what we're seeing now is the combination of all these elements into forms, into shapes, into various manifestations. Not only shapes, shape is something which we can see, but air, ether, water, taste, with perception, perceiving. So they become perceivable by the senses. So anyway, when he says it's very difficult. Ahaṁ sarvasya prabhava. Prabhava, bhava means to become. Bhava means to become. So prabhava means the existence of everything is dependent on Krishna. It comes from him. He is the person. He is the prabhava, the cause before they are becoming. But there is no before. So eternal, but at the same time, we are expansion of Krishna. So this we cannot sufficiently describe in language of this world. Okay, it has only to be accepted as an axiomatic truth. Sai is asking, is Krishna expansion of all? No, everything is expansion of Krishna. Okay. So anyway, so if that is understood, that is Krishna is the origin of everyone. So everything and everyone is related to Krishna. That is a fact. That is the meaning of that word. That sentence. Ahaṁ sarvasya prabhavo means everything is related to Krishna, and everything is his, and therefore, if it is his, it is for his benefit or his pleasure. So once we understand that, even including us, we are meant for his pleasure. We don't have any other identity. Our identity is to give him pleasure. Our duty is to give him pleasure. That is our constitutional position. Swarupa. Now, then, once one has understood that, then one has to engage in that function of service. Budhā bhāva-samanvitāḥ bhajante maṁ. So they, iti matvā. So knowing this, that means knowing the sambandha, the devotee comes into abhidheya. Sambandha, abhidheya, prayojana. These three classifications or categories of Vedic instructions. Some are sambandha, establishing our relation with the Lord. Then abhidheya, which is engaging in that relationship, reciprocating in that relationship. And then finally, prayojana, achieving the goal of that, which is to be constantly engaged in the relationship. That's it. Yeah. It will be foolish to say that a mother is serving her child only with a view that end goal is that this son will grow up and take care of her and give her nice palace and everything. That's not the reason why the mother serves the child when the child is a baby. Nobody knows what this child is going to become, right? So why is she serving? There is no expectation of reward. The child can't even reciprocate properly. By Krishna's arrangement, the child looks cute. That is the only reciprocation, because he will give these innocent glances, and and then the mother, the child becomes endearing for the mother, and that's how the child is maintained, by his cuteness. Is Krishna's way of enhancing the affection of the mother, so that otherwise, where is the reward? Where is the reward? There has to be something, that binds the mother so unconditionally to the child. So it will be foolish to say that a mother is serving the child for getting something in return in the future. It's an investment she's making. So the mother cannot calculate her children as, is he or she going to be my asset or my liability or my what? That's a wrong way to think about it, right? It's a twisted way to think about it, right? Nobody thinks like that. So similarly, that should be our devotion to Krishna. So there's no the end goal, prayojana. Prayojana means the goal. Abhidheya means to engage in the service. Prayojana means its goal, but it's not a goal which is separate from the service. It is service in its perfect state. So the means is service to Krishna, devotional service, and the end is also devotional service to Krishna. It's not just service, because government servant is also servant. Any servant is also servant, but he does it for his salary. Otherwise, there will be no service. So here it is not just service; it is devotional service with devotion, bhakti. That's why Prabhupada translated bhakti as not just devotion. Devotion means some feeling. People think some feeling. No. It has to translate into action. What is your action based on that feeling? Mother cannot say, "Oh, I love my child. I love my child." Do something to the child. No, do something for the child. Take care of the child. That she does not need to explicitly say that I love the child. Just by her serving the child, we can see how much she loves the child. But of course, prayers are also offered to the Lord. That is engaging our mouth, our tongue in Krishna's service, and our mind also. Everything, mind, body, words. Now, sambandha, abhideya, and next verse 10:9 is, what is that? Forgot. 10:9. Bodhayandah parasparam. Machchitta madgata prana bodhayantah parasparam kathayanti cha mam nityam tushyanti cha ramanti cha kathayantascha mam nityam kathayantascha mam nityam. So bodhayantah, preaching. So once one establishes, I'll just go through the synopsis of these 4 verses, how they're arranged and how everything is condensed in that. So bodhayantah parasparam, this preaching. So once one understands sambandha, then one engages in Krishna's service. At that time, he's a third-class devotee. Then he, becomes more devoted, and then he goes to preaching. He will glorify the Lord now. He will preach the glories of the Lord among devotees, and also he will go outside and preach to as much as possible non-devotees who are innocent. He will preach. Bodhayantah parasparam kathayantascha mam nityam tushyanti cha ramanticha. Not only the speaker enjoys that conversations, but the listener also enjoys. Now, if he preaches as much as possible in the society, whole society will be peaceful by preaching. Ramanticha. They enjoy. They will enjoy life when it is centered around topics of the Lord. So, in other words, preaching brings about complete happiness in the world. We're not talking about peace only. Peace is a precursor to happiness. Peace is just the on the borderline between misery and happiness. Peace, just the um, cessation of misery and the prerequisite for happiness. So, peace, world peace. They talk about this. No, world happiness. Sarve jana sukhino bhavantu. Sukhina. Sukha means happiness. And this is only possible when we preach Krishna consciousness. So, Jagan Mangalam Hasam. This, what is that? 6:3:31. Tasmat Sankirtanam Vishnu Jagan Mangalam Hasam Mahatamapi Kauravya Vidhyaikantika Nishkritam. You see, Jagan Mangalam Vishnu Sankirtanam means the congregational chanting and preaching of this Krishna consciousness is Jagan Mangalam. So it is auspicious for the entire world. Whole world will be happy. Bodhyantas parasparam, bodhyantas parasparam, kathayantascha mam nityam tushyanti charamanticha. They constantly, discuss about Krishna's topics. And when we say Krishna's topics, they can be expanded unlimitedly. We're not like, shut away from reality, shut away from the world, and just discussing about Krishna and not knowing anything about the world, just being ignorant of the whole world. No. Krishna's topics means they're very relevant. They're very relevant. In fact, they are the only subjects which will be ever relevant. They will never lose relevance. People think, oh, you're talking about Bhagavad-gītā, 5,000 years old subject, why are you talking now? I think it is outdated, or at least some aspects of the Bhagavad-gītā is outdated. What we can glean for today's context, we can glean and go on with life. No. Because every single verse is relevant for all time. For all time. It is eternal, evergreen knowledge. If we start thinking that it is, what is that? It doesn't have that eternal nature. That is an offensive perception of the Bhagavad-gītā. We have to quickly correct that before we proceed any further. So, it is always true for all time. So, we are not, and when we say relevant, for example, the Pandavas and the way they led their lives. So that is in Dwapar Yuga. How is that relevant now? Arjuna was on a battlefield. We are not. How is that relevant now? Well, it is relevant because we all have our own battle in life. Right? Actually, the real battle is with Maya. The real battle here is Maya. Adharma. So Maya is always introducing adharma to us. We have to tread the path of dharma. Just like Kauravas, where they were the personifications of adharma. And they had to be vanquished. That was the mission on the battlefield of Kurukshetra. So we, like Prahlad Maharaj, Hiranyakashipu, the personalities are starkly different and they are two different persons. It is easy for the optics because that means for us to see, it is easy to make the distinction. This is devotee, this is demon. Oftentimes, that's not the case what we see, because even within ourselves, there is a part that is devotee, there's a part that is demon. The proportion of each of those characters, we all have this dual personality or multiple personality disorder, especially even when we're becoming devotees, because that non-devotional tendencies from the past are still there in the same person, us. And then there is a devotee part which wants to follow Krishna consciousness. So you see, um, okay, you see this prayer by Prahlad Maharaj. Om Namo Bhagavate Mahanarsimhaya Namastejas Aviravirbhava Vajranakha Vajradamshtra Karmashayan Randhaya Tamo Grasa Om Swaha Abhayamatmani Bhuishtha Om Kṣṛaṁ. You see, Karmashayan Randhaya. Now, what is he saying? See, I offer my respectful obeisances unto Lord Narasimhadev, the source of all power. O my Lord, who possess nails and teeth just like thunderbolts, kindly vanquish our demon-like desires for fruitive activity in this material world. What is he asking? My demon-like desires for fruitive activity. So that karmashaya is personified by Hiranyakashipu. So we can see the Narasimhadev, rip open his. So what is Prahlad asking? Similarly, rip open this desires for fruitive activity in this material world. Tear them apart. Destroy them. Vanquish them. Karmashayan randhaya. Tamo grasa. What is grasa? Kindly drive away. See? Tama means ignorance in the material world. Drive away my ignorance. Destroy my material activities and my materialistic desires. So, when people chant Narsimha Kavacha, where it is mentioned, all the shlokas are mentioning protect my eyes, protect my front, protect my back, protect my arms and everything. People think, okay, protect me so that I can engage in my karmashaya. So this is the fundamental mistake in chanting with that mood. Those mantras are not meant for protecting our material elements of the body so that I can continue my sense gratification. No. Protect these parts of my body from Maya, because Maya can enter from any single part, any single sense. What is that verse in Bhagavad-gītā? 267. See, Indriyanam hi charatam yanmano nuvidhiyate tadasya harati prajñam vayurnavamivambhasi. As a strong wind sweeps away a boat on the water, even one of the roaming senses on which the mind focuses can carry away a man's intelligence. So, protect these every single sense and every single part of my body from Maya. In other words, engage them always in your service. That is protection. If they are not used, if our bodily senses are not used in Krishna's service, they are unprotected. Or they are. So there is no point on one side, chanting the Narasimha Kavacha or the name of Krishna for protection, and another instance, I forget that and engage in materialistic activities. Of course, it is not going to happen when we are not pure. In the offensive stage, this is what happens. We are still trying to become a devotee. So we still have. So there is dissonance between what we are saying or what we are chanting and what we are doing. So there's a clear dissonance. That will become one when one becomes a pure devotee. So the entire endeavor is to come to a point where we focus on what we are hearing, what we are chanting, what we are reciting, and this philosophy, and apply it in my life consciously, become more conscious. What is the meaning of our movement? It is a movement for Krishna consciousness. To become conscious of Krishna, to become conscious of my lack of devotion to Krishna, to become consciously aware that I'm not devoted, and to consciously make the effort to devote myself. This is called Krishna consciousness. So, preaching, where this glorification happens of the Lord, it purifies the speaker, it purifies the listener, it purifies the inquirer, and it establishes peace and happiness, enjoyment. People enjoy life, not simply world peace, but world enjoyment, not in a materialistic sense. Real enjoyment is ramante yoginonante satyanande chidatmani iti rama padenasau param brahma budhyate. That means Rama, the enjoyment, real enjoyment is to cooperate with Krishna's enjoyment. So the Rama, Hare Rama, Rama means the supreme enjoyer. And to be in his service is the supreme enjoyment. So, whole world will be happy. And then 10:10. What is that? Tesham tatatayuktanam bhajatam pritipurvakam dadami buddhi yogam tam yena mam upayanti te. So then what he does? Tesham satatayuktanam. Yuktanam means this abhideya who people engage in abhideya, that means a practical service, and they become refined in that service, more and more refined, means more and more purified. Then priti purvakam, with priti, with devotion, dadami buddhi yogam tam. Dadami buddhi yogam. Then what Krishna does in that reciprocation? First of all, he gives the recap. He gives the knowledge. First of all, he is the origin of everything. Ahaṁ sarvasya prabhavo. Now he reveals that he is the origin of everything through Vedic scriptures, acharyas, devotees, sampradayas. He reveals that to the wandering soul, the fortunate wandering soul. Guru Krishna Prasada Pai Bhakti Lata Bij Brahmanda Brahmate Kono Bhagyavanji. So then what happens? Sambandha established. Now the devotee starts reciprocating to that knowledge by offering up himself to the Lord. And that is that bhajante mam. What is that? Iti matvā bhajante mam budhā bhāva-samanvitāḥ. So bhāva-samanvitāḥ, here it is said priti purvakam. Same thing. With priti, with bhava. So this is the reciprocation of the devotee in response to Krishna's revelation of knowledge to us through the spiritual master. And therefore, he also worships the spiritual master as good as Krishna, because he is the transparent via medium, and in fact, without the pleasure of the Guru, Krishna is not happy. Okay? So once he reciprocates like that, the devotee, once he becomes a devotee and reciprocates, because if we were devotees, there was no need of preaching. We were not devotees. We were preached to. And then now, we become devotees. Now when we become devotees, then Krishna now reciprocates to our devotion. What does he do? Tesham satatayuktanam bhajatam pritipurvakam dadami buddhi yogam tam yena mam upayanti. I will give them the intelligence by which they can come back to me very quickly. Now, that can be expanded, to unimaginable lengths. What is that? What is the meaning of dadami buddhi yogam tam? I give the intelligence by which. So this can be expanded. Like, your journey when you're now in Krishna consciousness. How did he give you intelligence at every step of the way? When you're reading, when you're chanting, when you're doing some service, Krishna gives the intelligence in micro micro situations and macro situations. He guides through the devotees. It's not always some epiphanies. That is not the only way Krishna connects or reciprocates or dadami buddhi yogam. He also does through the instruction of the devotees. And sometimes he gives the most important instructions through the devotees. Why? Because when we get some epiphany, sudden realization of something, and suddenly something clicks in our brain, then we become a little proud that, oh, Krishna actually, I just had this epiphany. Krishna revealed this. Whereas if another devotee says, it requires more humility to accept that as Krishna's direction. Because I will first of all question, who is he? Does he know what he's talking about? Why should I listen to him? Krishna will give me the knowledge, the intelligence. When Krishna is giving that intelligence, we fail to see that through the devotee when he's giving that. So he instructs in multiple ways because he is as Chaitya Guru, he is in the heart. And externally he manifests as the spiritual master, whether it be Diksha or Shiksha Guru. So Diksha Guru, Shiksha Guru, Chaitya Guru and Vartma Pradarshaka Guru. So these are all different expansions of Krishna only, because Krishna is the Jagat Guru. He is the ultimate Guru of everyone anyway. Now he manifests himself in different ways and he instructs in different ways. And sometimes, as it is said in the 11th canto of Bhagavatam, what is that? 24 different gurus. 24 gurus means sometimes even a bangle is a guru, prostitute is a guru, pigeon is a guru, tree is a guru, grass is a guru, Trinada Pisinichena, Tarora Pisayashona. So many gurus are there. Python, snake is a guru. How can they be gurus? How can they be gurus? Because it is Krishna only who's instructing through so many different expansions of himself. And it's not that the snake itself becomes a guru. Krishna reveals to us how to see the snake as guru, how to get instruction, how to be reminded of the instructions of the guru wherever you see. That's what we're really doing. The lion or the snake or the pigeon or the prostitute or the bangle have no desire to teach us anything. But by observing, we can learn. We can always learn if we are humble enough to see that these are lessons Krishna is giving me. Krishna is always our friend. Krishna is always giving us lessons. Sometimes he punishes us when we don't see the lesson that is right in front of us. He punishes us sometimes. And that punishment will awaken us to the lesson that he wants to teach us. So at every step of the way, he is always teaching us. Dadami buddhi yogam tam. So this can be expanded. And of course, the Shastra. Shastra is his teachings, his personal words, the non-negotiable foundations of knowledge is his words. Everything else comes from there. So Shastra is how he does Dadami Buddhi Yoga, because Shastra is always there. But who gets access to Shastra? Those who are Priti Purvakam Bhajatam. So those who engage in the service of Krishna through the spiritual master with sincerity, love. Krishna reveals more and more. Now, Prabhupada's books are there for everyone, but not everyone is reading. Why? Because the Dadami Buddhi Yoga, Krishna has to give that intelligence. But if I am not reading, that means I am not taking advantage of Krishna's intelligence. Krishna's intelligence is there through the books. If we read, we will become intelligent. Become very intelligent if you read Bhagavad-gītā. People don't read. So Krishna reciprocates dadami buddhi yogam tam yena mam upayanti te. But to be very honest, he is actually always teaching us, but we don't see his lessons. But we will be able to perceive his teachings, his benedicting us with intelligence only when we start bhajatam pritipurvakam. Otherwise, this dadame buddhiyogam tam is always doing, of course, it's not direct. Sometimes, the non-devotee is punished, but he doesn't know why he's punished. He doesn't know anything. So there is no buddhi there. Because the person is so closed, so shut away from the mercy of Krishna that he is not given access. But for a devotee, dadame buddhiyogam tam. Okay. Now the next verse, which is the final one, 10:11, is तेषाम् एवानुकम्पार्थम् अहम् अज्ञानजं तमः नाशयाम्यात्मभावस्थो ज्ञानदीपेन भास्वता. Beautiful. Aham, again aham. Mam, aham, everything. These four verses are fully personalized. They are personal. Krishna is vividly describing himself as a person, not as an energy. It's a stupid word. Energy, the person is energetic. The energy belongs to him. He's not energy. Jnanadipena bhasvata. Aham ajnanajam tamah. Artham. So special mercy. So you see, to show them special mercy, who? The devotees, who are engaged in Priti Purvakam. I, dwelling in their hearts, destroy with the shining lamp of knowledge the darkness born of ignorance. So this knowledge means it lights up everything. Even those who are so-called jnanis, who accept the impersonal conception of the aspect of the absolute truth, and those who are paramatmavadis, who are, yogis, the second-class transcendentalists, they also don't have the complete knowledge, but destroy with the shining lamp of knowledge the darkness born of ignorance means to all degrees, not including the Brahman and Paramatma realization, which is still partially in darkness. Because the real thing is Bhagavan realization. Bhagavan realization has everything, all knowledge. But Brahma and Paramatma realization is incomplete still. So when he says destroy, means completely Brahman, Paramatma realization. It is not that Brahman realization is destroyed. No. Bhagavan realization involves Paramatma and Brahman also, but the extra added aspect of Bhagavan realization, which is the complete aspect, complete truth about the Lord. So, the complete realization of bhakti is given by Krishna to those who are sincerely serving him. So that is prayojana. Prayojana means love of Godhead. That only happens in the Bhagavan stage of realization. Paramatma and Brahman realization, there is no prema, Krishna prema. That prema is the ultimate. Prema pumartho mahan, panchama purushartha, above even moksha. That only when prema comes, that is complete destruction of the darkness. In that 5 verses from the Bhagavatam, which is Srimataṁ Swakataha Krishna Punya Shravana Kirtana Hridyanta Sthohya Abhadrani Vidhunoti Suhrit Satam Nashta Prayeshu Abhadreshu Nashta Prayeshu Abhadreshu Nityam Bhagavata Sevaya Bhagavatyuttama Shloke Bhaktir Bhavati Naishtaki. So there it is said that one who studies Bhagavatam Nitya Seva, that means every day, for him, Nashta Prayeshu Abhadreshu, all the dirty things in the heart are almost completely destroyed. Not completely, almost. Prabhupada explains what is the meaning of this almost. That means 75% according to Vishwanath Chakravarti Thakur. Only when one comes to the level of prema, because anukramishati, sadhakanam ayam premna pradurbhave bhavet kramaha. So this chronological advancement of devotion of a devotee goes through many stages of advancement. So the first is Ado Shraddha, preliminary faith, Sadhu Sangha, then association with devotees, Bhajana Kriya, getting initiated, and engaging in the services practically to Krishna. Anartha nivrittihi, the dirty things in the heart becoming cleansed, becoming wiped out. Then nishtha, that means fixed up, nishtha, naishtiki. Then ruchi, tatha ruchi, taste for devotional service, spontaneous taste. Asakti, asakti means spontaneous attraction for Krishna. Bhava, then prema. So these are the stages of advancement in devotional life. Only when one comes to prema, the last stage, in the ninth stage, is the darkness completely given up. So even in Bhagavan realization, the third class devotee, the second class devotee, are still somewhat in a little bit, still darkness is there. Only when it is prema, then completely. So here he's saying, I destroy in the destroy with the shining lamp of knowledge the darkness born of ignorance. And this knowledge means knowledge of Krishna's supremacy as Supreme Personality of Godhead and my relationship with Krishna. Everything. Knowledge means knowledge of everything. Even knowledge, that sambandha in the beginning, it's not that, okay, now I have achieved sambandha, now I am in abhidheya. No, it's not like that. Sambandha is the preliminary knowledge of our, or a preliminary knowledge of our relationship with Krishna and relationship of everything with Krishna. As we engage in abhidheya, our knowledge of sambandha also becomes strengthened. As we engage more and more in Krishna's service, the more and more we realize that Krishna is our master and I am his servant. That understanding, that relationship becomes strengthened and solidified at every moment of abhidheya as we advance. And when we commit offenses, it is sometimes recedes. That understanding recedes. So we're fluctuating there. We are not nishtha. When you come to nishtha, it is more fixed up. Then as it becomes more and more, when we come to the point of prema, it's fully blossomed. Fully blossomed. And there one is completely aware of sambandha. That means his eternal swarupa. Like for example, Rupa Goswami's Rupa Manjari. That kind of sambandha. Exactly what is my relationship with Krishna. Now we know generally, that is, I am a servant of Krishna. Everyone is a servant of Krishna. That is a fact. But there are different flavors of service. Right? Shanta, dāsa, sakhya, vatsalya, madhurya. And even each of those have subdivisions. So, what exactly is my relationship? Who am I in the spiritual world? What is my actual swarupa? So, that complete, specific, exact relationship of me with the Lord, that will be revealed at the stage of prema. One's relationship, like, Ram Duta Hanuman, he is a servitude. So, he's in the dāsa. That is, his specific relationship with the Lord. Arjuna is in the Sakhyaras, Yashoda Maya in Vatsalyaras, and Radharani in Madhuryaras, Rukmini in Madhuryaras, Swakiya, Parakiya. So all these things, and even when you see Parakiya Madhuryaras, gopis are in Parakiya Madhuryaras. But when Radharani, Srimati Radharani and Krishna are enjoying, the gopis feel more pleasure than when they enjoy with Krishna directly. They're vicariously enjoying the pleasure of the pastimes of Radha Krishna. And the Manjaris, they are assistants to the gopis who assist Radha Krishna in their pastimes. So they're assistants. So even Parakiya Madhuryaras. So their main thing is, their relationship is to assist some devotees in the service of Krishna. But they enjoy more than the devotees, and the devotees enjoy more than the predecessor devotees, and then the Radharani enjoys more than Krishna. So here in this material world, the servant of the servant of the servant of the servant of the servant is not such a big enjoyer. The master of the master of the master of the master of the master seems to be enjoying the most. In the spiritual world, the servant enjoys more than the master. And therefore, there is a competition where Krishna also participates in that competition. He wants to become the servant of his devotees. Like Krishna became the Saradhi of Arjuna. He became the servant of his devotee because he gets more pleasure by serving his devotee. So, in this way, proving the fact that service to Krishna is bigger than even to try to be Krishna or to be Krishna. Service to Krishna is important. So even in Parakya Ras, there are so many divisions. Priyanarma Sakhis. So first of all, Radharani. Nobody can become Radharani. And there are Priyanarma Sakhis, also reserved spots for certain gopis. And then there are gopis who are not Priyanarma gopis, but assistant gopis. They're also in the very confidential circle. And they have assistant, they have sub-assistants. There are birds, there are animals, everybody cooperates. Even the plants cooperate. Trees cooperate. So just imagine. So many subdivisions. So that specific relationship is revealed. So that sambandha becomes more and more strengthened as we go through Abhideya. And that strengthened sambandha realization fuels my my Abhideya with more vigor. So I engage even more in Abhideya. And then in this way, one is propelled towards the goal of life, which is Krishna Prema. So in this way, Krishna is guiding us through this, so many agents, Shastra, Guru, Sadhu. That's why that song, Sri Chaitanya Sri Chaitanya Nityananda Sri Advaita Sita, Hari Guru Vaishnava Bhagavad-gītā. So that is Hari Guru Vaishnava Bhagavad-gītā is our guiding force. Hari, with his Hari, first of all, Krishna as Chaitya Guru, as Krishna himself, Guru, Vaishnavas, Guru Sadhu, and Bhagavat and Gita are Shastra. It's not Bhagavad-gītā, not Hari Guru Vaishnava Bhagavad-gītā. No. Hari Guru Vaishnava Bhagavad-gītā, Bhagavat and Gita. So they are Shastra, Guru, Sadhu, Shastra, and Hari and Guru. So these are our guiding forces, guiding light. So in this way, Sambandha, Abhideya, and Prayojan, everything is described in these 4 verses. You can see now how it is describing everything. So, just going through that 10.8 purport, if anything we have missed out. So, as you can see, Upanishads, Narayana Upanishad, and then Gopalatapani Upanishad have been quoted because it's from Shruti, Narayana, that he is the origin of everything. He is the origin of everyone, even Shiva and Brahma also. So those verses are quoted here so that there is no confusion. Krishna is the origin of everything. Sarva karana karanam Ishvarah paramah Krishna Satchidananda Vigraha Anadir Adir Govinda Sarva karana karanam. He is the efficient and immediate cause of everything. Alright, so we'll wrap up and go through any questions if anybody has. And please ask relevant questions. I think I have seen already some irrelevant questions. Somebody is asking, Prabhu, how to control lust? How to control thoughts? So, fill up your thoughts with Krishna. That's the way to control the thoughts. So, you cannot control thoughts. You can input. You can control the input of the thoughts. So, what we consume, that will, inform our thoughts. So, consume Krishna conscious material. Read Prabhupada's books. Attend these lectures. Prabhupada books, a whole lifetime it will take to study and learn. So, read. And as you read more and more, then, your thoughts will be fully with Krishna. And then you will not be Embarrassed by lust. That's the simple answer. Pritish, what practices help individuals balance their worldly responsibilities with their spiritual pursuits? Shravanam Kirtanam Vishnu Smaranam. This is the simple process for Kali Yuga. What is that? Hearing. Hearing what? These topics. Reading and hearing. This is part of sadhana, by the way. Sadhana involves these things. Sadhana involves many other things as well, but the essential portion of sadhana is this. And once we do this, other things will fall in place. So, what we should do, the essential practices of bhakti. Here, Shravanam, Kirtanam. That means we have to chant as well. And while chanting, we have to hear what we are chanting. That. And Kirtanam also means to preach. But I would not be able to preach if I did not learn anything first. So, whatever I learn, I should preach. So, I should learn. And when I preach, my thoughts of what I learned get organized within my head, within my brain. And that is good for me because I will assimilate the thoughts better by preaching. So, I should preach. So, Shravanam, Kirtanam, Vishnu, Smaranam. So, first I must chant Hare Krishna and I should hear every day 1 hour minimum. Reading, classes, and then eating only Krishna Prasadam. So that way what will happen is, you are asking about how will individuals, what practices help individuals balance their worldly responsibilities with their spiritual pursuits. But what is a spiritual pursuit, first of all? So because I don't want to navigate this with vague terms, I want clear terminology because people are interpreting these words in their own ways. What is spiritual pursuit? Because nowadays gurus are coming and everything has become spiritual now, suddenly. Oh, meditation, spiritual, whatever is spiritual, whatever, just invent something and it is spiritual now. That is not spiritual. Okay? That is a mental concoction. Spiritual means I am Atma, spirit. And Krishna is the Paramatma, super soul, supreme spirit, supreme self. My relationship with Krishna is the eternal relationship. That is that of love. So, only when we pursue to become Krishna conscious, that is a spiritual pursuit. Everything else is just a mental pursuit, intellectual pursuit. That's all. And nothing in the spiritual realm until it comes to Krishna consciousness. It is not, it is still material. Even liberation is considered material because you have no information of the spiritual world. You just have information of the material world that this is bad. I have to extricate myself, but where to go after that, you have no information. So, impersonal liberation is still considered material. It is still considered lust, karma. So, spiritual pursuit means to become Krishna conscious. Let's have very specific terminology, otherwise, we are muddling the whole issue. So, we will use very specific, that's why Prabhupada used very specific terminology. So, spiritual pursuit, no, Krishna consciousness. We are conscious beings, but we are not conscious of our relation with Krishna. We are conscious of our material relations, which is my parents, my wife, my children, my this and that. But out of that, or my country sometimes, all based on the body. So this is my current consciousness. I am identifying myself with these things. I'm identifying my relationship with these things. Now I must understand that my relationship is actually with Krishna. And whatever these things I thought were mine actually belong to Krishna. Whether my parents, my children, or whatever, my country, everything belongs to Krishna. So that sambandha, when we become conscious of Krishna all the time, that is called Krishna consciousness. And our pursuit should be to revive our Krishna consciousness. That is spiritual pursuit. Worldly responsibility. Now, when we say worldly responsibility, we think providing for our family, going through our education, whatnot. That is not our worldly responsibility in its totality. That may be one aspect of it. And honestly, without you in the picture, the world will still run. Your family will still survive. Suppose many times it so happens that the breadwinner of the family dies and the family does not die, it will continue. Mostly it's like that. It may be hard, but whatever, the maintenance will continue if they are destined to continue. If they are destined to be destroyed, they will, killed, they will also be die. So most of the times, they survive, right? So what is my real responsibility? Well, you are in this world and you have relatives. Whether that be relatives not in the seminal sense, but also in the interest sense, merit sense, meritorious relations. That means what you are interested in, like, um, friends, people with the same interests. These kind of people are also, you are related to them in one way or the other. Maybe not biologically, but by interest wise, psychological or intellectually, you're related to them, right? So now, community, the sense of community, that is also a relationship. Now, very important point. What is your responsibility within this world? Whether you like it or not, you are a leader. You are leading either your children or your wife or your. Sometimes I'm a follower, but eventually I'll become a leader by natural way. If I become a father, I'll become a leader. If I become a mother, I'll become a leader. So by nature, you are accepting the position. Whether you like it, no, I don't have leadership qualities. Well, every mother is a leader, every father is a leader because you're leading your children. So whether it's micro or macro or cosmic level, leaders we always are to a certain extent because we're part and parcel of the Lord. Lord is the supreme leader. We have tiny amount of that leadership qualities, and we may engage it with our 2-3 children or whatever. Now, your responsibilities. You may also think that your work is a responsibility. Well, debatable which work you take, because we think, oh, my work is my responsibility, but you have chosen that work. You could have chosen any other work, and that would then be your responsibility. But actually, that's not your real responsibility. Your real responsibility, first of all, in this world, is to purify yourself, understand yourself first, self-awareness. Who am I? Who am I? That is the first responsibility. And whoever you meet, whoever you are leader of, naturally or by influence, by naturally means biologically you become a leader, but otherwise, or by marital relationships, a husband is supposed to be the leader of the wife. So either that way, or by influence, because one is a leader, maybe in his class he is more influential, whatever. So this is the gurur na sasyat, sachano na sasyat, pita na sasyat, janani na sasyat, daivam na tatsyan, napatischa sasyan, namo chayadyah samupeta mrityum. One who cannot deliver his dependents from the path of repeated birth and death should never become a spiritual master, a relative, a father, a husband, a mother, or a worshipable demigod. You cannot. So, what is your worldly responsibility? To give education to your children. Is that your responsibility? Well, education means giving them Krishna consciousness. That is real education. That education you must give. Don't be too concerned about giving a university education because that is not education. That is the education system of the demons. The demons are educated in that line. So we should not be too enthusiastic in that education system because it primarily defeats our human mission. in the very formative years of one's life, it completely distances the soul from the Atma, from understanding his real meaning of life, the real nature, his relationship with God, and how to live this life in service to Krishna. It completely divorces him from that. So, this is not education. This is an art of livelihood in the current thing. It is a skill. They're learning, teaching some skills and some useful information, for example, language and general geography and history. And that history is also very much distorted. I was very upset when I recently found out that many of the things that I learned in school as history in India, fake history we learned. So we are being cheated, and actually, even in the name of science, what we are taught as science is fake science, pseudoscience. It is not science, and they call us pseudoscientists. Because when we talk about moon landing, or when we talk about soul, the science of the soul, and what is birth and death, and the reincarnation, they say this is all pseudoscience. When they have no instruments even to enter into this fray to understand this knowledge, when they have no it is like the sour grapes. The jackal, he wanted to jump and take the grapes from the creeper which is on the tree, and he was trying and trying, he could not reach. They're all sour grapes, they're not nice grapes. So similarly, when I can't reach the level of science that is mentioned in our Bhagavad-gītā and our Shastras, I will just dismiss it as saying, oh, that is just, sour grapes. It is just pseudoscience. But let me tell you, what we are learning, modern so-called science, is pseudoscience. You may say, how come you are saying you are using live stream and all this is because of science, and you are saying this is pseudoscience? It is working. It is working. Well, I'm not denying what they are discovering or what they are doing with what they're discovering. What our fundamental problem with modern approach to education and science and history is this, that it is by deliberate effort they are teaching these things without relation to God. That is pseudoscience. Pseudoscience is when you are not interested in the original creator. You're with such depth you are going into understanding the creation, but you are hell-bent against accepting the creator. That is pseudoscience, because then you will not know for what purpose the universe was created, for what purpose it is in existence, for what purpose it will be destroyed, and for what purpose we are in this world. We will not know anything. So what is the use of big words, big technological advancements, devices and satellites and this and that, if all of that do not culminate in knowing even what I am? I may know what is going on the other side of the world thanks to technology, but I don't know what is going on inside this body. Who am I? I don't know. What is the use? Where is that science? The most crucial aspect of science is being completely dismissed as being, oh, that is faith and belief, and that's not science. So the rational so-called rational approach. Rational, what is rational means? Something that appeals to your brain. That is rational. Something that is coherent, or something which we can grasp. Something that is beyond our adhokshaja. The Lord is called adhokshaja because He is beyond our mind and intelligence, beyond our existence. With our senses, with our mind, intelligence, we cannot reach Him. We cannot understand Him. So He is beyond rationality. Rational means something which we can understand with our brain power, within the limits of our brain power. For example, the transmigration of the soul from one body to another, it is not within the brain power of a modern scientist. But he, instead of trying to understand it, because it is beyond his purview, it is not science. I think who, so there is some guy, he said, anything that I do not know is not worth knowing. And there's one philosopher like that. He said, anything that I do not know is not worth knowing. That is the modern scientist. That is the modern scientist. I do not know what is the soul and what happens, what is that. It's not worth knowing, it's not science. What is that? So you are sending these people, your children, to that school where deliberately they are divorced from knowing God. Then how? And even if some schools, they are having some religious hue to them, like Christian schools or Muslims, madrasas or whatever, and there also it is taught as a separate subject. That is wrong. That is also wrong, because it is not just a separate subject. Everything is related to Krishna. So everything is religious, everything is scientific. So there's no boundaries. You see how we study. We are studying history. Mahabharata is a history. Bhagavad-gītā is from there. Srimad Bhagavatam is a history. All the Puranas are history. So we are having history lessons. At the same time, we are having cosmological lessons, geographical lessons, ethical lessons, lesson in law, about governance, about duty, about science, about technology. Bhagavad-gītā, entire Bhagavad-gītā is through relay technology, yogic relay technology, not simply this, not this full mechanical way of doing it, yogic way of doing it. So that is also there. So these things are, every aspect is there, but in relation to Krishna. That is knowledge. So there is no such thing, once you understand this thing very well, that nothing is separate from Krishna, ahaṁ sarvasya prabhavo, then you will start to realize that there is no dividing line between your worldly responsibilities and your spiritual pursuit. Of course, yes, worldly responsibilities means you have to maintain your body and soul together and maintain your family. If you are first of all a young man who's not married, better don't get married. Your responsibility is to just minimize your worldly responsibilities. Make more time for spiritual pursuit or pursuit of Krishna consciousness. But if you're stuck or if you want to get married, okay, fine, go into it. But remember that your duty there is to make everyone Krishna conscious. The husband must make the wife Krishna conscious. The parents must make the children Krishna conscious. They should understand that not for their pride, not that for their pride they put their child in some academic institution and then make him into a big Harvard graduate, Cambridge graduate. This is crap. Why are we still holding those universities as, the epitome of knowledge? Why haven't we learned in Krishna consciousness that this is the actual highest knowledge? Even if we say, when we say that, Krishna consciousness is the highest knowledge, this is better than any university, even devotees who are not reading, of course, Srila Prabhupada's books, they are like, yeah. Yeah, actually, this is true. This is Krishna consciousness is the highest knowledge. Yeah, by the way, my child is actually going to Cambridge. Please give him your blessings. What have you understood? What have you understood? So, it is a test. I mean, if we take pride in this stupid knowledge, really stupid knowledge, we don't even know who we are at the end of the day. That kind of knowledge and the sense of ego and pride that comes with it, the ignorance, it completely disqualifies a person from knowing Krishna, knowing himself. It's such a waste of valuable time in youth. You have 100 years. There is a classic definition of Prahlad. I mean, definition, not definition. What is that? Graphic description by Prahlad on how we waste our time in this human life. That we have 100 years for those who are uncontrolled, 50 years are spent in sleeping, and the rest 50 years, the 10 years are spent in childhood, growing up, and youth, and playing, and running after opposite sex, family life and its complications, and hardly any time is left for spiritual life. Now, that is a bare bones mathematical description. Try to understand another thing. That not all 100 years, suppose, given the, let's suppose for a while that we have 100 years. Not all 100 years are of the same quality. Our growing up and youthful years are our most valuable life. In the sense, not valuable, I wouldn't say exactly most valuable, but they set the tone for the rest of our life. Okay, let's put it that way. And the foundations are laid in those years, the foundational years. And that most important aspect, we lay the wrong foundations, then the entire life is a waste. So, in bodily strength wise, in the body being healthy and able, this is the most capable time. And the body will dwindle over time, especially once you hit 40, 50, it starts deteriorating. So, you cannot do as much as you can do in your youth, right? So, if those years where your energy is at full display, those years are fully, that full energy is meant to, is channeled towards atheistic education, atheistic understanding of life. What are we doing then? Then what else is your responsibility then? Yes, maintaining only until necessity. Kamasya nendriya pritir labho jiveta yavata. If we take this verse as the guiding principle of our worldly responsibility, we will save so much time. That means kamasya nendriya priti, just not for indulgence, but just enough for sustenance. That's enough. If you're having a family and working, rest of the time, don't work towards material promotions. Don't be very enthusiastic about material promotions. Labho jiveta yavata. That's it. That is our principle. Stay in that. Don't have to become a big person in materialistic life. If by Krishna's grace one becomes already before coming to Krishna consciousness, whatever, then one may use that influence in Krishna's service, and eventually, like you see, even Rupa and Sanatana Goswami, so influential. Eventually, what they did, they gave up everything and surrendered to Chaitanya Mahaprabhu. So, we have to not pursue these things. It is a waste of time. Devotees are not understanding this even today. So many devotees. How many classes we have given? On this, but even devotees, they say, yes, 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 nice class, Prabhu. After that, same thing. Why? Why are we not taking this seriously? Why do we not surrender to this movement and push it full time, full on? That's what we should aim to do, especially the men, the boys. And if you can't do, I'm not saying everybody will, but at least go through the brahmacharya stage, na. Eventually, one gets married, okay, fine. But as long as we're in brahmacharya stage, there is no thinking of marriage. Oh, one day I'll get married. That's not brahmacharya. Brahmacharya means think about just brahmacharya. That's it. So, one must do that. That's how one will save oneself. And that is your a real responsibility. Worldly responsibility you're talking about, this is your responsibility. And yare dekha tare kaho Kṛṣṇa upadesh. Apart from just maintaining my body and soul together, the rest of the time should be in Krishna consciousness, preaching. This should be my life. Association with devotees, temple association. This should be my life. So mold your life in such a way that you're always Krishna conscious. Spiritual pursuit and worldly responsibilities are not two different things. They have to be completely congruent. That is the varnashram system, where one is engaging in according to his aptitude, but in for the process of spiritual elevation, for the process of elevation in Krishna consciousness. That is the varnashram dharma. Spiritualizing the material situation. This is the actual varnashram dharma. So, all that starts hearing, and chanting, reading, attending classes, chanting Hare Krishna, taking Krishna Prasadam. And eventually, this hearing will purify and you will understand what you should do with life. Okay? It's a very long answer. So, next question. Sai Karti is saying 10:8 verse can be used to quote with regards to supreme proprietorship of the Lord, right? Is there any other verse combination to add in this regard? Yes. So, ahaṁ sarvasya prabhavo. So, every property will have a title deed, legal document saying that I am the owner of this property. So, these words by the Lord are the title or the legal. This is the legal document saying that everything belongs to the Lord, Krishna. Ishvaras, what is that? Ishopanishad, first verse. Ishavāsamidam sarvam yatkincha jagatyam jagat. Tena tyaktena bhunjita magridha kasya siddhanam. So everything belongs to the Lord. So these are all documents that states the ownership of the Lord. Ownership of everything by the Lord. Karti, again, next question. How can we logically explain the supreme proprietorship of the Lord to the atheistic class of men? What should be our train of thought to convince them since they might not accept Shastra? So we should make them accept Shastra. Because without Shastra, there is no real information about the Lord. There is hypothetical or there is inferential, claim, but it will only be a theory at best. It will never be knowledge, right? Because there can be unlimited possibilities for creation. But the Lord's version is the true version. Even though the Lord's version is beyond our explanation, beyond our imagination, whatever, like the lotus flower, Brahma sitting on a lotus flower. I mean, where is this lotus flower, man? Where is the lotus? So it doesn't click to our. We, in our wildest imagination, we would have never imagined a lotus flower as the beginning of the creation in this universe. Not one scientist alluded to a lotus flower. So, I wouldn't know who my father is if it's not for my mother. Even, okay, now they say, oh, no, now you can find out with DNA. Well, my question is simple. Did you accept your father after a DNA test? Or did you accept your father on your mother's word? Which one? 100% of everyone in this world accepted their father because of their mother's word. That's it. Period. And sometimes the children are adopted. Even then they accept what the mother says, oh, this is your father, this is the mother. Only maybe later they may reveal the truth or something like that. So we accept not on a DNA test. We accept by the word of the mother. Now that may be verified later on by other means. other valid means. That is important to say, because in the matter of the body, yes, DNA may work because it's a material thing. You can still maybe, but there are other things which need other instruments, other ways of verification. Okay. So our methods of verification is Guru, Sadhu, Shastra. Now, why should I care about what the Shastras say? Okay. Before going to the Shastra, let's first of all go to the limit of what we can understand through inference, and let us see if Shastra adds value to that or not. Okay. So first, inferentially, if we infer, recently I saw a YouTube short. Brian Cox, he is a well-known scientist. I think maybe some of you might know, physicist and all that. He sometimes talks about universe creation and all that stuff. Now, he said categorically in a video saying that in that he does not believe in God, and he doesn't like the question also because it has an antagonizing element to the question. It is like you're almost blaming me by asking me the question, or do I not believe in a God? It's like it has a negative connotation. So that is his thing. So he's more concerned about his feelings being hurt. But he said he doesn't believe in a God because there is no proof. We don't know. That's what he's saying. Well, then that just shows how foolish these scientists actually are and how foolish the education system is, because if they are at the zenith, or they are at the very summit of education, of material education, because these scientists like him are considered the top of the top of the top cream, right? So if that is the summit of education, where the person has he finds no reason to accept God, it just shows how foolish, because how foolish you have to be to not accept God. How foolish you have to actually be. Why so? Because Prabhupada answered in many very easy way. I mean, take a painting. Immediately you will say, who is the artist? Such a beautiful painting. So, if painting is just a reproduction of a existing reality on a 2D canvas, or sometimes it can be sculpture, it can be any kinds of art. Now, all that art is coming from something that is already existing. The artist is deriving his inspiration from something which is already in existence. And that's how he's putting together a painting or whatever piece of art he's doing. Now, he's borrowing elements and you're giving him the credit for being an artist. What about that supreme artist then? How did the art, you take a look at this beautiful sunrise or a sunset, or the horizon of the ocean or the mountains, or the depths of the water, and everywhere, and the colors and the different flora, fauna, everything that's so colorful, that's so artistic. Individually, each of them have artistic abilities. How much art does it take to do something like that? Do you think there is no art here? It is just by chance? And that's how scientists would like to actually describe everything. Chance. Oh, they say evolution of species, man has been around for about half a million years. Where are you getting this here? Where is your evidence? Where is your evidence? You do not know. When a crime scene happens, even after investigation, sometimes they come to wrong decisions, wrong conclusions. Sometimes it takes a lot of investigation to clearly understand what exactly happened. That is in the present. You are talking about past that is unimaginably far away, and you are coming to very clear understandings of it. and I should believe you. There can be a number of possibilities. Why should I accept your possibility? Is that the only way life has been? And their fundamental narrative is that man was crude and unintelligent in the beginning, like a monkey, and eventually now it is the most civilized, most intelligent version of evolution that has ever happened. This is their worldview. Where are you getting that from? Where are you getting that from? Huh? How come, if that is so, then how come the world is much more uh, how come you don't even have any understanding of yourself, whereas few generations before, they were much more grounded and much more clear in their understanding? Now maybe you have understood some technological aspects of it. That does not mean anything that you have understood anything within you. Who are you? Nothing you have understood. So this narrative that man is always progressing, everything is always progressing, and evolution, and they're saying that from matter came life. Until now, until now, there is zero evidence to that. Absolutely zero evidence in any scientific paper anywhere in the world. There is not a single piece of evidence where life came from matter. Not a single piece of evidence. And they don't want to explain. Yeah, it just happened. Or how it happened? Tell me. Tell me. Big scientist, tell me, rascal. So until these important links are explained, don't just run them over. You know, you know how interrogations take place. When why I'm talking about, I'll tell you. In a minute. You see, the interrogator, he is trying to find out the truth of the matter. Now he asks the suspect, "What happened? Describe what happened that day when you did when this incident happened. What exactly happened in your version? What is it?" Then he will explain, and things that he wants to hide, he just gives a vague description of that. Or sometimes to cover up his lack of, cover up his thing, he will explain maybe in too much detail that is unnecessary. There you know that there is a deliberate something which he is hiding, or he is just skimming over that part and not explaining in full detail, muddling it up so that he quickly gets over and gets to other parts. And interrogators look for that. They're not, they may take note of what you're actually describing, but they look for those instances where you skim, where you don't describe in clear detail. They know that that is where the reality is, the more important thing is. Why am I telling you this? Because the scientists, they explain, oh, life, life evolved from matter. Yeah, of course. Okay, 13 billion years ago, universe came, according to them. Okay, and then all this was all a bunch of gases, hot gas, and this and that. Then Big Bang happened, and the universe has been expanding ever since. And eventually, those gases have combined in unique ways, and in different planets, different things are happening. In Earth, somehow it has started. It has evolved into unicellular life, and then into complex cellular life, and then all the things, all the variety that we see. Okay, fine. Show me what exactly happened when that gas and a combination of those elements came and became life. Can you replicate that in a lab? Never can they do it. Never. That means the life is a totally different thing from the any of the elements that they have discovered in the periodic table. None of those elements in the periodic table give rise to life, or any combination and permutations of them do not give life. So if you want to logically convince them, first of all, break their conviction in what they know. Challenge their conviction first. Okay, let's not talk about proving God now. You are taking such a strong stance of no God, right? So, how convinced are you of your own position? Can you explain everything with your position? And if you can't, probably you have to look into something that is not in your that is not in your domain of knowledge. Okay, if everything can't be explained with what you know, that means there is some other aspects to it which modern science, which this education system does not have answers for. Okay, and therefore, now let me tell you, this is the alternative. Okay, and see how much it makes sense if you accept some of these statements from these scriptures as axiomatic truths. Everything suddenly starts making so much sense, right? How is that so? For example, let's start not with God, let's start with ourselves. Okay, who am I? Am I this body? Well, then if I am the body, this body, the dead body is also body. What is the difference between a living body and a dead body? Start asking these questions and don't give them answers. Let them explain what they understand. Find the weak spots in their argument, attack. Now they will say, oh, simple, it's the heartbeat stopped. Okay. So what is a heartbeat? Why is heartbeat the sign of life? Ask them this question. Why is a beating heart the sign of life? No, yeah, that's what will keep us going because the heart is stopped. There's no existence of that person anymore. And it's finished. Fine. Then that is more like a car. Oh, engine is running, so therefore it is moving. Now the engine is stopped. There's no RPM. The RPM meter, rotations per minute of the motor. So it is zero, and therefore the car is stopped and it won't move anymore. It is akin to that. It more appears that the body is more like a machine instead of the person. So the car is not the person. Similarly, the body is like the car. So the body is not the person. Something else is at work. That is the physical aspect of it. Now I try to explain on top of that. Why are there so many species of life? And even within one species, one is born poor, one is born rich, one is born. What determines these things? Are these simply accidents? If they are accidents, then there should be randomness. But why is there specific order? Everybody has these hands like this, legs. The human shape is of one kind, the animal shape is of one kind. There's no animal becoming human, nothing like that happening. So there is order also. So you are saying it's by chance, but this is orderly. And the sun is rising. At a cosmic level, the sun is rising every day. There is order. There seems to be order. There seems to be patterns. There seems to be some laws. We say law of gravity. Now, if you say that is a law, somebody put it in place. You can say, no, it's the body, it's the mass, it's not put in by anybody else. Well, what gives the mass? Who gave the mass the property that it has to attract something with gravity, whatever? Even if that is the definition of gravity, even if for argument's sake we accept that as the definition of gravity, and how if you're saying these are laws, law is a strong word because law. What happens in an anarchy? Anarchy is just no law, lawlessness, and it is chaos. But you are saying law. When you say law, there is a lawmaker. Because no laws get made by without, at least in our tiny reality, for our laws that humans can make. If there is no law made, then it is lawlessness. There's no order. So for something to have such strict, not only order, but a strict conformity to that order. You see, you can have law, but people can break the law and maybe, because the policing is not there. The conformity, people don't conform to the law. But here, nothing goes out of the conformity. Law of gravity acts all the time. Fire burns all the time. The law doesn't change. It is so strict that not even once it has a different way of working. That strict a law. What is the governance behind that? Did you ask about it? So question their belief first, question their so-called conviction, which they may be very confident of. Shake their confidence first, and then you explain. Now, okay, you may or may not accept what we have to offer, but here it is. What you are is a atma. That atma is powering this body, and just like a set of clothes or a car, you're wearing it. So describe these things. And then if you take off your dress, the dress will not move. You will move, but the dress will not move. Similarly, when the soul leaves the body, the atma leaves the body does not move. It's like a discarded cloth. Now, does that actually make sense? It does. If you axiomatically accept that there is atma, and if this is the thing, then it makes sense. Then it is likened to a car also, which is, when you turn off the engine, yes, the RPM, the motor turns off, and the car will not move again. So it does make sense. Of course, it may bring up other questions, and those other questions can be answered. So if you axiomatically accept this, then there is much more order now to what is happening. There is an explanation to what is happening, because you don't have explanation in your own way of thinking. Therefore, you just say chance, and where you just say all these material, there's a laws, physical laws, some random words you're throwing. But when you explain in this way, it makes much more sense. So why not you try to accept first? Okay. When you have a better answer here, why not explore this side of things? There are other ways of explaining than your own limited way of explaining. Because what you are doing with the so-called scientific method is you're only observing and experimenting and theorizing and postulating and coming up with whatever theories you're coming up with. But we are inherently defective. How can I rely on a person who is imperfect and his postulations, or even a combination of many imperfect people over time create postulations? Still, they do not know. How can I rely on that? Whereas here, I am not saying anything of my own intelligence. I'm just repeating God's intelligence. It's perfect intelligence, and it actually makes perfect sense. You cannot explain why there is so much variety of life. You can't explain. Now you're explaining DNA. Oh, DNA, that's why there's so much variety. Okay, my question is, why is the DNA different in everyone? Yeah, you may say X chromosome, Y chromosome. Okay, even then, same parents, but children are different. In what combination are the X and Y chromosomes, in which proportion, and what? Um, not only physical features, but also mannerisms. How are they handed down like that? What is causing these things? And you may say an accidental combination, whatever, and that solidifies, and that becomes the future of that person. It's not something accidental. Everything has order. When you don't know, then you say accident. That is not an explanation. You say chance. That means you don't know. Don't give a word to that, a chance. Oh, I have explained. You're not explaining. That's chance. Whereas we are explaining with reason. And why you are here, you don't even know. You have no clue. So forget about how you're existing and everything. Why you are here? Why do we exist? No clue. Why is this creation even made? Why existence even is there? You have no answers for this. The why question, in fact, investigation is all about the 5 whys. Why? You ask this why question in your own investigation. What kind of scientist you are? You ask why, then you will not have an answer with your current system of learning. And therefore, probably, you have to accept something else. And here, we do have answers. We have a different process of getting the knowledge. So we receive knowledge from higher source, whereas you are experimenting only. Now, if I am just believing whatever I'm believing, then how can I explain it better than you? So in this way, shake up his confidence in his own stupid understanding of things due to modern science, and slowly build your case if he has the patience to go through all that. So, if they are really interested. I heard once the deities in ISKCON temple cried when one big guru was there. Yes, in Mayapur. Next question. Sometimes when things seem too difficult to understand, then we must know that our brain is simply incapable of comprehending the truth and not overthink on the topic. Once Prahlad Prabhu told me. Absolutely. Because how much ever you overthink, you're thinking with your same, um, what is that? Um, Brain, which is not enough to understand the reality. So don't think, accept. Accept. Next, Antya CC 9.68. Materialistic persons sometimes take to professional devotional service and keep Vishnu, the Supreme Personality of Godhead, as a means of livelihood. None of this, however, is approved. What is this? Cheating. And if a person attains the siddhi of Ma Kali, does that person's ghost wander in the Pret realm? Well, there's nothing to do with topic at hand, and I think it's a very, very misunderstood version of what is Siddhi, what is Siddhi of Mahakali, and how he becomes a ghost. Well, you know what? You start reading our books first. I think there is no point just asking some wild questions. Siddhi of Mahakali. First of all, Mahakali worship is for people in the mode of ignorance. Yeah. Um, it is not even worth. I'm not interested also in explaining anything of that because it doesn't take anyone to the real goal of life. So don't even ask me this question because it's a waste of time. And all this so-called siddhi and breath and all this ghost, it's all waste of time. Okay, it doesn't concern our spiritual advancement. So be concerned with what is actually essential because time is short, life is short, and let's cut to the chase and just let's discuss what topics are actually essential for our spiritual growth. Read Bhagavad-gītā and start um, your sadhana and Krishna consciousness. So next question, is Chaitanya Mahaprabhu Almighty God? Yes, he is Krishna himself. There is enormous amount of evidence, copious evidence is there to prove that he is Krishna. From Bhagavatam to Puranas to Upanishads to even Alvar's statements to Krishna's statements. So many points. In fact, I did one class on this. The Vedic references for Chaitanya Mahaprabhu's supremacy as Krishna. Next question by Virendra Prabhu. What is the difference between Chatushloki Bhagavad-gītā and Chatushloki Bhagavatam? Both are written by Vedavyas. So both are pretty much saying the same thing. Ultimately, in a condensed way they describe the same thing. Ahamevāsamevāgre nānyat satasatparam tasmādya ahaṁ yadetat yoga shishyeta sosmyaham. Same thing. In fact, a bit more detail there, but essentially the same thing. Mhm. I don't have time to go to the Chatushloki Bhagavatam now. It's already 10:10 here. But you can read to second chapter 9, second canto 9 chapter, verses 33 to 36. There the Chatushloki Bhagavatam. You can go and read. Elaborate purports were given by Srila Prabhupada to those 4 verses also. Much more elaborate than the Chatushloki Bhagavad-gītā. Okay, so Karti is asking next question. When one is in the bhava stage, is he first class or second class devotee? First class devotee is always a pure devotee, so he's always in prema. So by that definition, he has to be second class. Thus, devotee expression of prema unto Bhagavan transforms into a particular rasa in spiritual world. What are the symptoms in prema stage of a devotee? This topic you can read Nectar of Devotion. Very, very elaborate descriptions are given on this topic. You read that because it's a very, very big topic, and all these symptoms are mentioned there. Wow, this whole session was like an amazing documentary. We could get so many amazing clips from this class. You know, I want somebody to do this work of taking out these clips. You know what? All these classes are long form, so most people won't be interested in such a long form discussion. But these short segments and shorts, reels, these are the ones which will increase the awareness, bite sized. And then that's why actually I started that wisdom bites thing. And now shorts came up. So shorts is even, of course, we can have those segmented versions and also the shorts. We have to build a team to do this in a very systematic manner. Our lectures have so much content that is useful for the people, but which is buried in a lecture, so people won't look at it. So you have to take out that and give it to them. And then nowadays, the shorts have this feature where there's a link. You can actually watch the original video if you are interested. So it's a beautiful advertisement for the videos because all these shorts will serve as very good trailers and this thing for the long form episodes, and then people eventually will get interested. So as much as we're doing these lectures, you see 25 people now. At one point it was 14, 1.10. So not many people will sit down and listen. But we should do these short form videos. We have to create a team now. I haven't worked on this, but we should work together on this very soon. In fact, I used to do a series for 1 month. I did Tattvavit show on Instagram Live during COVID. Every day. So after that, I stopped because in the side of my head, it was going on that I'm doing this so much investing. I mean, so much on different various topics, but then it's on Instagram Live. Which will sit on IGTV. Nobody's going to IGTV to search for these things, these topics. So I was thinking, well, am I really doing the correct thing or not? But anyway, now I want to restart that Tattvavit show, but as a YouTube live podcast. And I want to cover all the different topics that I want to cover in video format, which I wanted to do by video editing, but given the responsibilities, given the increasing set of responsibilities that are coming our way, I think it is not feasible for me to sit down and edit every one of these videos, because I will not be able to churn out the videos in quick when it is needed quickly. So I should be able to do that. So I think the easiest way is through live streams, and then make segments and shorts out of those podcast episodes. And I want to also upload those podcasts on Spotify as well, with chaptering, with segments, with shorts, going out, distributing the content, and getting eyeballs, and get people to consume this message, because it's very important. What we have is unmatched. Unmatched. The knowledge we have in our books, Prabhupada has given us everything. And Sunugopal Prabhu has taught us the invaluable skill set of always quoting from the Shastra and using the softwares that we have, and I mean the folio and everything, and also the streaming softwares that we have. I think we should have zero excuse now to not to produce anything of this sort. But we need a strong team to do the editing after that. So if every week one episode comes, that means before the next episode comes, this episode, all the segments and shorts from this have to be already be out, release. So that is what we should do. Then it will be a success. And same thing for the lectures. In fact, one of you, if possible, actually should do, you know, time stamping. And okay, this is the topic, this is the topic. And after the class is finished, in the description, put the timestamps and all the topics, and that's chaptering for the class. So even that chaptering helps. So anyway, all this is our media internal work. We have to do all this. I think we have to have some meetings and come out with a clear plan and clear execution formula to nail this. All right. What else? David. Oh, thank you very much. Hare Krishna. I always find your pravachan to be very well spoken, with truthfulness, benefiting, and with respect. Priya. Thank you very much. I don't know. I'm just trying to be of service. That's all. Hopefully we can reach more people and get them to read Prabhupada's books and make their life successful. Mm. In chants, there is no action included. It's just an indication of how often some action happens when observed. It's not an action itself. Well said. Can we schedule a meeting next week? Next week. Today is what? Wednesday. Next week is a bit too late, maybe. Maybe before that. We will discuss. He's saying Sunday. Yeah, Sunday I think is a good time. Yes. I will chat with you directly on this. All right. So thank you very much. श्रीमद् भगवद गीता की जय, श्रील प्रभुपाद की जय, अनंत कोटि वैष्णव वृंद की जय, निताय गौर प्रेमानंदे। हरे कृष्ण।